Hello! Thank you, that's such a warm welcome. Welcome to Experience Makers Amsterdam. My name is Fiona Yao. It's pretty obvious for everyone who can read. And I'm super excited to host this program this afternoon. So, I'm great everyone here is here. And some of you are really enthusiastic. You do not have to put on the headphones immediately. I will tell you when the moment is there. So, today is packed with inspiration, with insights to help you deliver the digital experience today's customer expect to see, being the unique individual they are. And with the right focus and tools, you are in the driver's seat to make this happen, because the ultimate customer experience is made by people like you, by you. Just like you chose my outfit, and I have to say, really good taste. It's like you already knew what I wanted to wear. At a certain point, I did have to go change, of course. I did not do this in the last 30 seconds. But you really are showing your potential, that beyond stereotypes, beyond useless age categories, you are showing that you truly understand my tastes, my passions, my interests. And that is exactly what the consumer wants.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hey.
I believe that's me.
Yeah.
I'm Laura, and I really like what you had to say, because it's true. As a consumer, I expect brands to know me, to understand me, to treat me as an individual. Let's make it personal. Am I right? Don't lump me in with some meaningless generation. Talk to me. Know me. Move with me. And speaking of moving, I actually live in The Hague, and I'm moving to another house. Exactly like that. But please, take care with my data. I'm happy to share my expectations with you with this moving house situation. Actually, I have a couple ideas and suggestions for you.
Okay, thanks, and nice to meet you, Laura. Oh, she's already gone. I'm really excited to hear Laura's thoughts, because it's our aim to know what drives her as a consumer. And the consumer's experience is made by you, and you, and you, and you. And I feel like Oprah Winfrey, but I'm definitely not. Today we have speakers from, you name it, KPN, Signify, McDonald's, AkzoNobel, and ING, and they're all letting you in on their customer experience management. And according to Adobe, this means building a foundation on data, content, and actionable profiles, and making each interaction across the entire journey real-time, in-moment, shoppable, and of course, wow. And Adobe can help you with every step. Not always in plain sight, but powering everything around you. Everything is touched by Adobe, just like this huge screen that is running on Adobe software. No surprise to me, but pretty much in plain sight. And to grasp how you, as an experience maker, can use Adobe's technology and vision to make it personal and succeed in the digital economy, we welcome Director Customer Experience Evangelism at Adobe, Mathieu Hanous.
Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? Nice. So, on behalf of the Adobe staff, I would like to thank you for being here this afternoon. I'm personally very psyched to have us all together in one physical space. It feels really good to be back. We have great content for you this afternoon, and we have a fantastic speaker lineup. So I hope that by the end of this event, you will leave this room energized, inspired, and connected with your peers. The sole focus on this topic today is going to be to focus on one of the best opportunities that we all have in common here in the room, how to make the customer experience and to make the digital economy personal. So let me explain a little bit. So the shift over digital for the past couple of years has been outstanding and pretty much unprecedented. Many brands have gone through their digital transformation way before the pandemic. But the sudden shift and urge to change your entire operations and your business seemingly overnight has been overwhelming. Many brands, and I'm sure many of you here in the room, had to take bold steps to make that happen and introduce some of the toughest choices in the industry, again, to make that happen. The shift to digital across industries has been constant and shows no sign of slowing down. The digital economy that we're in right now is producing a lot of good growth for business. And this business is estimated to hit $8 trillion in the United States alone. So the question that I have for you, for your teams and organization is, are you set up for success? Are you creating those bold, rich customer experience with your consumers? Well, this is what we're going to see today. So let's start first with the data. We know that responsible use of data is the foundation to any good relationship that you might do with your consumers. When you execute your experiences, those experiences can either make or break the trust between your brand and your consumers. And that's the reason why we think that personalization comes into play. And we're not talking about personalization just adding the first name of your consumers everywhere in your email. No, that's only a first step. What we're talking about is to go one step, two steps, many steps ahead in truly understanding your consumers so you can serve them with the experiences that they want and deserve. We've actually asked many brands in a piece of research that we've done with Forrester, saying, well, how are you doing with personalization? And we've measured that 2/3 of these brands saw an increase in their revenue compared to their peers who are not using personalization. An additional 2/3 saw an increase in the Net Promoter Score, and an additional and final 2/3 saw an increase in the customer lifetime value across a period of 3 years. Personalization is a business mandate, and we need to make sure that we can execute our strategy based on a new set of standards. We at Adobe believe that these set of standards will give you the ability to execute personalization at scale, to make sure that you create those compelling, beautiful, real-time customer experiences, whether your consumers are online, offline, or using the immersive technologies that are growing in consideration in the market. So where do we start? You might think that this is easy. Well, it might, and sometimes it is not that easy. And that's the reason why you're here today, so we can lift the lid to real-time experiences of some of the most progressive brands, in addition to showing you the product in action and having tech talks so we can talk about what it means for you in the business. So let's start with truly understanding your consumers. So customer needs are constantly evolving. Gone are the days where we would only and solely focus on understanding your consumers based on their, let's say, gender or demographic or age. That's gone. However, what we might think is that maybe we should ask people, consumers, about what they think of these labels. We think that customer needs are in constant movement, complex and fluid at the same time. So we asked 6,000 consumers across Europe about what they thought of these labels, demographic labels. Are they relevant to them? Are they still good? And should we use them as businesses to drive the conversation between our brands and consumers? Well, let me tell you that the result was pretty outstanding, because the majority of our consumers said that brands need to understand us as the unique individuals that we are. So what does it mean for us? I think the first takeaway that we need to take from this research is that we need to move away from seeing people as statistics. I know that we have these labels saying Generation Z, Millennials, Baby Boomers, whatever. I don't think it will be sufficient for our strategy to just use them and set it in stone like that. we had a debate actually before this event, and we find it interesting that although it can be an interesting start to the conversation, these labels shouldn't be the final destination. So our first key takeaway is probably to move away from these labels. It's interesting because the findings of this research is that 73% of people say that they want to be individuals with their own taste and beliefs. 78% think that their taste is evolving every few months, and 37% of them want to make sure that we truly understand them as new people that they were a year ago. I mean, we've gone through a pandemic, so we're definitely different. Different in way we communicate, different way we talk, we communicate, we work. So obviously, we need to take into account this. Here's the problem for us, leaders, is that we need to find a way to capture those ever-evolving customer experiences and personalized data in real time. And the majority of customers and brands, the majority of brands are not doing it today. The same consumers that we talked about, the 6,000 people, they said that 2/3 of brands are missing the mark because they don't truly understand who they are, leaving only 1/3 of brands that are doing just okay. So what does it mean, again, for us? We need to make sure that we create those real-time experiences where we truly understand their consumers at the individual level, and that means that we need to solve a paradox that you probably all know about, is that on one hand, you have consumers who want to be treated as the unique individuals that they are, and on the other hand, they want to value their privacy. So they're asking you to make a choice to blend these two things together. The future is cookieless. So you need to find a way to act in your strategy, to implement your strategy on a first-party cookie where the mutual consent is done. And by mutual, we mean that you need to find a way, a two-way street between your brand and your consumers to not only collect the data, use it, but with the consent of your consumers. And that's going to be extremely critical for the success of your strategy. We talk with a lot of customers, obviously with you, with partners. We have a lot of experience in implementing your projects. And we can tell you that there are at least 3 pillars for the success of any customer experience. And you're going to see these pillars throughout this event. First is around data, and we talked about it. Know the customer at the individual level. The second one is content. What is the story that you're going to tell me as a consumer? This story is filled with assets. So you need to find a way to not only scale your business, but have a velocity to create these assets, to expose these beautiful assets to your audience. And the third one is the journey. How are you going to tell that journey? We're going to be talking about channels, email, call center, anything that you're going to use to connect the dots and talk with a customer. When we say journey, we're past the channels, because sometimes the best channel is to say nothing, because that's the right decision at that moment in time. So what does it mean, again, from a technology perspective? Obviously, we're Adobe. We want to be your technology partner, and you need to ask a question for yourself. Is your customer data management platform helping you in 2 different ways: to understand your consumers and to act on the data that you collected to create those beautiful experiences? We believe that the Adobe Real-Time CDP, part of Adobe Experience Cloud, is the solution to do that. And is actually the unique solution on the market to do all the above that I talked about. The final thought that I really want to share with you is actually a personal thought and how to make a connection with your consumers. Look, we're all leaders here. We're all responsible for your brands. But whether it's to buy a skincare product, to refinance your home, or to change a cell phone plan to your cell phone bill, or even to engage with the brand represented by the person sitting next to you, I bet that a year from today, you won't remember the specifics of that relationship. You won't remember how many emails or phone calls or what kind of banners you saw on their website. You won't remember a year from now. But I can tell you that you will all remember if it was a good or a bad experience. This is the aftertaste that your consumers will have as they experience your brand. So that's exactly what we want to achieve. And we want to be a partner to your success in the digital economy to make sure that this aftertaste is as memorable as possible, as delightful as possible. On that note, I really want to hand it over to Paul and Peter, who are going to show you the technology in action. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you after that. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. The theme of today is making the digital economy personal. A recent study shows that only 17% of organizations is journey-focused, meaning that the other 83% of customers of organizations is not journey-focused. So there's a large opportunity to realize personalization at scale while getting to become journey-focused. The idea is that we will create a demonstration for you, leveraging a consumer goods brand, in this case Frescopa. And Frescopa is a coffee brand. Frescopa sells coffee, brews, accessories to not only individuals, but also to businesses. And the idea is that they're in the middle of an evolving business model where they also want to go direct to consumer. So the organization has set some goals. So increase product revenue, as you can see, grow customer base, improve customer satisfaction, reduce costs. Nothing new there. And the marketing team has created some initiatives. So increase coffee subscriptions, you can see, because Frescopa has introduced a coffee subscription model called My Barista. Second initiative is that they want to introduce a new product, a new roast called Morning News. And the third is that the implementation team wants to create highly personalized marketing campaigns. So let's have a look at the business-to-consumer use case in this case. And before Paul goes into detail, let me explain to you the screen you're looking at. So at the left, you see the customer touch points, so the actual journey pillar. In the center, you'll see the the content pillar with the customer interaction. That's what the consumer sees. In this case, in this example, it's Lizzie. And on the right, you see the customer profile, the data pillar, where we are showing you how the data is getting stitched and connected to the customer profile in real time. Paul, she's all yours.
Thanks. Before I start, I hope the screen is big enough, so I won't interfere with your left. So Lizzie Torres is a consumer who just bought an automatic espresso machine. And as part of the onboarding process, she downloads an app, she makes an account, she logs in, and she connects her app to the machine. And on the right side, that's why I'm standing here on the right side of the screen, you can see instantly that the profile of Lizzie is being enriched. You can see she is falling into a segment for people who bought an automated espresso machine but did not subscribe to the My Barista segment or audience. Second to that, you see a number of identifiers like the ECID, the Enterprise or the Experience Cloud ID that we use, but also the Frescopa ID and the CRM ID, instantly connected to her profile. You can see her purchases and some of more profile-related information that was part of her onboarding process. So this is all real-time ingested into the platform, set against the common model to make it sure that in real time we can act on that data with actions, but also get insights from it. After her login, she connects and she gets Take My Coffee quiz, and this is basically a way of her getting more information into the platform about her specific coffee preferences. However, she has to go to work. At work, she goes to Facebook, and with the real-time CDP or real-time customer data platform, we shared the segment you saw before with, for example, social channels like Facebook, but we can share with email or other touchpoints in a unified way. In this case, she gets an example from Facebook, and then she decides to take the quiz. But when you look at the top right, you can see her profile is blurred. We don't know it's her, just that she's falling into a specific segment. Now she decides to take the quiz. And while taking the quiz, she's still anonymous because she enters the Frescopa website. You can see her profile being anonymous. However, all the interaction data that you see is real-time. All her questions and answers are fed real-time into the platform. And that's how we can make a profile on an anonymous user, but change the content based on that profile, because if she is a dark roast lover, or a medium roast, or an espresso lover, we can change marketing outings based on that preference to get her into the My Barista subscription program, as you can see here. Now she has answered all the questions and she wants the results, which means, hey, if you want the results, you have to log in. So she does. And instantly on the right side, you see that anonymous behavior of the previous test is connected to her previous registration on the app. You see 2 ECIDs, one of her app, one of the website, connected her known profile with her anonymous profile on an instant basis. With this data, you can use, but as mentioned before us by the keynote, there's a point to be made here. It's all privacy driven. So in the platform where this data is stored, everything is governed, privacy driven, all from the platform, all to be governed. And all the data that you can see here can also be analyzed on the journey basis across touchpoints with customer journey analytics.
So, she's a satisfied customer of the smart coffee machine she bought, but she isn't a subscriber to the coffee subscription service yet. She also isn't a user of the new coffee roast, the Morning Muse. So Frescopa decides to create or to re-engage and to retarget Lizzie by leveraging, in this case, an in-app push message. And the in-app push message gets activated when she walks by a Frescopa boutique, when she is shopping in the city center, for example. She passes by the boutique, she passes by a beacon, and instantly the system sees that Lizzie is walking by the Frescopa shop, and in real time they're retargeting Lizzie with, in this case, an offer she can't refuse, because it's an offer for free coffee. So as you can see, based on her preferences, we've used an asset on this specific offer. The image is based on her preferences she put in earlier. She loves the beach, for example, making use, by the way, of Adobe Experience Manager assets. And the coupon contains a barcode. So with this barcode, she can enter the boutique, and of course she does, and she meets the barista. And while she meets the barista, she also sees a real-time activation offer with the digital signage display. In this case, sign up for My Barista. Also made possible by Adobe Experience Manager screens, unified and fragmented screens we can push across touchpoints. So she scans her barcode with the barista, and the barista immediately sees on his point of sale system that Lizzie isn't subscribed to the My Barista coffee service yet. So she engages with Lizzie, she talks with her, he does a sales conversation. She is excited and decides to subscribe for the My Barista subscription service. Made possible by Adobe Commerce, previously known as Magento, the barista is able, on the point of sale system, to do the transaction not only for the free coffee, but also for the subscription service. And the cool thing is that when the transaction is done, everything is real-time stitched to the customer profile, as you can see. So, Lizzie leaves the boutique, the shop, with her free coffee, and she gets a push message via email, personalized again. Thank you, Lizzie. Thanks for joining My Barista. Your first delivery is on its way. So in this case, you see an example where Lizzie was a passive consumer when she bought the smart coffee machine, and now she became a passionate brand advocate for the Frescopa brand. Looking at the B2B example, the approach is basically the same. Making use of customer journeys, we are able to personalize the experience for, in this case, businesses. Leveraging Marketo Engage as tool from Adobe, Frescopa is able to, in this case, send a personalized LinkedIn ad to Elizabeth, as she is now called, because she is a manager within a specific segment that is targeted by Frescopa. So, Elizabeth clicks the LinkedIn ad. She comes on the Frescopa Enterprise website, and as you can see to the right, her profile is still, well, very basic. But all the while she is on the website, we start building her customer profile in the CDP. She already has a lead score, and she's already part of an organizational account score, in this case 51. She takes the quiz. She takes the quiz just like she did in the business-to-consumer way. She downloads the results, and in order to do so, she needs to register or log in. And when she does, we immediately recognize that Elizabeth is exactly the same person as Lizzie was, and we were able to stitch both profiles together. Lead score goes up, part of the email nurturing campaign. As you can see, we are also targeting influencers like Jeremy and Jackie, and we go with the email nurturing campaign up until the score is high enough. In this case, the account score is 87, and we can leave sales up to it. It's a marketing qualified lead, and we can leave sales to close the actual deal in this case. Yeah. So, very briefly, what have we seen? We have seen that from a Frescopa point of view, we were able to combine both online as offline seamless journeys into one. We were able to combine profile data with behavioral data across touchpoints. We were able to real-time activate upon it, and leveraging customer journeys, Frescopa was able to orchestrate and create seamless, personalized experiences at scale. So let's now have a look how the ultimate experience maker, Nike, is putting its customers in the center. Thank you very much.
We bring hope and inspiration to every athlete asterisk in the world. That's our core mission. What I always try to do, and what Nike's frankly always done well, is see everything through the eyes of the consumer. We were looking at the consumer, and the consumer expect us to know who they are and expect us to deliver a personalized, seamless experience, online, offline, blended. The Adobe platform has played such an important role of delivering a more personalized experience for our consumers.
Thank you, everyone. Mathieu, for unraveling the way to the consumer's hearts. It's really clear that we have to respect, know, delight, and help customers while building a digital relationship built on trust in a complex, as you called it, wild world, but it certainly gave me a good aftertaste. So this first talk and this demo has shown us you have to collect and connect data, build actionable profiles, orchestrate and deliver in-time, in-moment journeys, and power each interaction with the right content. Yeah. The upcoming speakers and cases are inspiring you how to manage all of these pillars or just one in specific, like data. Data is one of the pillars of experience making, and two great speakers are lined up. They dive deep in understanding customers and building trust in each digital interaction, especially in a competitive world. Please welcome Jean-Pascal van Overbeke, Chief Consumer Market and Executive Board Member at KPN, and Luc Daman, Vice President and Managing Director Western Europe at Adobe, for a conversation about actionable data as a differentiator.
Wow! Hello, good afternoon. Hi, Jean-Pascal.
Hi.
Everyone, look at this. This is a full house. So thank you, everyone, for being here so numerous. And thank you to our customers and partners today. And thank you for being part of this vibrant Experience Makers community. So here we're gonna talk about KPN in a minute, and I'm gonna introduce you, Jean-Pascal. But do I need to introduce KPN? Actually, I think everyone knows KPN, but just a couple of facts. KPN, 150-year-old company, right? Leading telco and IT service providers in the Netherlands and also active in other parts of Europe. Fixed, mobile, for telephony, data, and television. You are serving both private customers and business users. I know you are also big on sustainability and you are quite advanced on that. Congrats, that is great.
You.
But I know that something striking is that you made in your mission statement is to make the Netherlands the world's best connected country. And I'm sure to achieve that, you are putting the customer focus really at the... I know it's something that's close to your heart. So let me introduce you, Jean-Pascal. We are the Chief Consumer Officer. We just mentioned that. But since this is make it personal today, maybe a few words about yourself. What got you to KPN and take this challenge?
Yeah. So first of all, good afternoon. I had the opportunity in the last years to travel a lot and to work in many countries and many different telcos, from incumbent to challengers, very successful or not successful at all. And suddenly got this opportunity to talk about what we can do with KPN. And KPN, as many people know here, is a very old, respected brand in the country, which is quite attractive, and also performing in many, many points. The real thing is that the passion of KPN is really about developing the future for the country by deploying this today fiber, which is the next generation of connectivity. And so it's really interesting to join a company which has a vision for a very long term, is able to invest billions to build that for a country, to connect every single citizen to that connectivity and that future that you guys are preparing in terms of experience, and as really indeed, as you mentioned, a very strong point of view about sustainability and privacy. So a good set of values that is interesting in a company.
And we know each other now quite well. I know you're a competitive guy as well. You like challenges, and telco is a super competitive market by nature, right? And so in that context, putting the customer experience and accelerating the digitization has been probably top of mind for you. I know you did that in a way where you wanted also to kind of rally all the sub-brands into under the umbrella of the KPN brand as well, which is strong. So maybe can you tell us a bit about the journey and the rationale about that acceleration of the digitization for the consumer part of the business?
Yeah, so for us, we're a service company, like some of you. Customer experience is in fact what we sell. We don't have another product really to sell to customers other than the experience there with our services. So as a service company, you have to think about customer experience, and obviously you have to also take into account the difference between the different customers. So we have the arrogance or the desire to be able to serve at least half of the country. And so when you serve half of a country in terms of every minute, every day, you all have somewhere in your pocket a phone or in your hands, I don't know. You will probably have internet at home. You watch television, you subscribe to Netflix or other products. So we are there every minute. And obviously, we all have different needs. And again, if you serve half the population, you have to be segmented in the way you approach customers. And the service that you offer needs to be personalized. So it's a really strong case for us to do that. Behind that, another benefit, which is really internal business benefit, is that if you're able to segment your service, you're also able to segment your cost. And that's something which is also a benefit to the profit of your company and the ability to be innovative and to invest more.
So you put really customer experience at the center of the strategy, and through customer experience, we touched really, I think, Mathieu, on this personalization at scale, which is a major challenge to have individual customer journeys. In a way, you approached it from day one. You wanted to make sure you capture those lifetime moment that matters for your customers, right? And I think you were extremely concrete in the way you approached this at the beginning, based on use cases. And the first use case that I remember you mentioned to me was the moving house journey, which is potentially, if you don't do something about it, an opportunity to churn in your business, right? Yeah. So it would be interesting to share maybe how you approached this and how you rallied the team and how did you manage that first initiative?
So yeah, so in our business, when the customer change address, it's one of the key moments where something good or bad can happen, good or bad from our perspective. So indeed, you might, as a customer, find a better connectivity with KPN, which in this case is wonderful. You might also find something which is not as good as what you have where you live today. And that then will start to have questions about, should I stay, should I change, what should I do? So for us in our management, lifecycle management, it's an extremely important moment. And obviously it's quite difficult to manage because you don't know exactly who is going to move and when, but you would like to make it quite personalized. And the team then approached it with starting to, with the collaboration we have with Adobe, to try to personalize the environment that the customer will see in this interaction with KPN. So from the moment you're flagged as a potential mover, which means probably you've been browsing a page which explains how to do it or some other interaction, so then you will be identified as a potential mover and your environment is going to change. So instead of seeing promotions for products, you will see direct links to how to make your move easier. Your app environment will change. So when you will launch the app, what you will see is not about buying a new product, it's about finalizing your move in the best way. So all these things in real time can now be adapted and changed, which is a first kind of proof point about how we can personalize very well a quite a complicated journey.
And I think what was striking when we started the journey a few years ago now together is I think your vision was really crystal clear on leading the pack in terms of data, coming from an environment which is quite complex. I think everyone shared the challenge today of fragmented data, but you wanted to really lead the way there and leverage also the real-time capabilities. And that led you to be one of the early adopters of our technology, real-time CDP, which was a bold move, and we thank you for that because you showed the way. Maybe you could share a little bit how did you approach that with the team as well? And how did you leave that move from having those disparate data everywhere, and you got the ability to stitch them and get to the goal of having a 360-degree view of your customer, right?
Yeah, so 360-degree, not there yet.
Yeah.
So we as many of other companies, we have an extremely old legacy of systems. KPN is a company that grew by itself, but also by acquisition and by merging with other companies, which means that 4 years ago, the team were managing many different systems, CRM platforms, online platforms. And so as you mentioned earlier, we simplified a lot of that. We're not there yet to the 360-degree, but the next step is going to be to stitch together online and offline data, which you saw, we saw it in the example here. So to make sure that today we have a very good understanding of what happens offline, we have also a very good understanding of what happens online. We now need to merge these two data and make sure that we can be more relevant with customers based on that. So if you come back to the move example, we would be able to also to merge data that we acquired, and why wait for a customer to signal that he's moving if you know through other data that this is going to happen, so you cannot be just repairing or improving the journey, but prepare it and be proactive. So that's really the next step for us on the 360-degree.
Clear. So when we look at the way you utilize data, we are convinced that we are at the pivotal moment on the market today. We see across Europe, the gap increasing between the leaders and the laggards in terms of customer experience and taking that journey. You're definitely again, leading the pack there. Could you maybe share for the audience a bit more like the learnings along the way with your teams? And for you, how do you intend to scale that to the next level and what the future looks like in terms of customer experience from a KPN standpoint?
Yeah. So future for us is to move a bit from this famous next best offer, which is mostly a commercial transaction, to the next best service or next best experience.
Right.
And that means that we need to move from predicting who needs to receive which offer in which context to also what kind of service intervention we should proactively prepare for customers based on the data we collect. So, for example, to be more tangible, we know based on modems installed in your homes, based on Wi-Fi interaction, based on TV consumption, that potential hardware is going to not be performing at the right level. There is still obviously a question about consent because we're not allowed to use that in one-to-one relationship. But we know today if we should proactively change your equipment before it fails. And so rather than to be waiting for customers to call us or to contact us and to complain, we are today, in data-wise, able to predict what's going to happen into a household in terms of equipment and being able to then intervene if the customer give consent to propose a change or an adaptation to the product. So that's really the evolution where we need to go from just being extremely commercial about what we saw earlier was mostly commercial. We need to go into something which is also more service-based, and because that's the loyalty of the customer. So we need to build that now.
Super exciting. Looking forward to be part of that journey together, which leads me to talk about also the partnership. I think at Adobe, we tend to become a mission-critical business partner for all of you. Hopefully, if we do things right together, we have the ability to change the game and impact top line and bottom line. Maybe it would be interesting for you to share. There's been a 2 years journey together. What are your thoughts on the partnership with Adobe, and what are you expecting from such a mission-critical partner?
So obviously, we started 2 years ago, so it was kind of, we knew together what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it was quite easy to do. During the implementation, during the stage of a different stage of the project, we obviously had some better moments and some more tough moments together with things that were sometimes very easy and sometimes complicated.
It's the life of a project, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so what was, I think, remarkable, and that's really due to, I think he's in the room, Gijs' team, who is leading our data and personalization team, commitment on each side and getting the team from Adobe and the team of KPN together, really convinced that and committed to delivering that project. So we went through tough moments, but we never felt as a client that there was a potential risk from Adobe's side to leave it there and to not comply with what we wanted to achieve. So sometimes it was fast, sometimes complicated, but that's, as you say, it's a project. So I think what we expected and which is happening is this strong commitment we feel from Adobe to make this happen and discover with us, because sometimes the discovery we do together in terms of how do we develop these solutions.
Absolutely, and that's an opportunity for me to thank you again for the partnership. Something to mention, which for me is an absolute key success factor, is the commitment from the top of the organization, from a board member like yourself. Your drive into this has been absolutely key. And building the relationship at all levels of the organization is also something, the trust element is something we don't take for granted. So really appreciate that. Maybe to finish on the last point, which is the theme of today, right? A more personal digital economy made by you. Can you comment on what this means for KPN, made by you, and how do you empower your organization to basically create and drive relevant, customized experiences?
So yeah, we started the journey with making sure that we shared at management level the importance of the personalization, segmentation, because it's not always obvious, right? That you want to go into a journey in which you're going to offer very different products and pricing and experience to different customers, because it sounds maybe unfair. But so we first had to do that. And then we're lucky, again, I come back on Gijs, but his team has been extremely fundamental into pushing this project across the organization, not just in the collaboration. And we didn't take it as an IT project. It's really a business project, which has a P&L and a desire for us to achieve some performance. And so I think this was really key. The evolution now is that with Gijs' team, we are able to measure, in fact, the customer journey. So we've identified the core customer journey of a customer. We just mentioned one with Move. There are many others. And we are able to measure the effort score and the NPS of the customer per journey, as well as the cost. And so we are able to relate these different components and to measure every month how good we perform and how good we improve in these different journeys. So that's really where we start now the management of the customer experience as a business topic.
Super cool. Jean-Pascal, it's already the end. So I feel like we could talk about this for hours, but it's time. So thank you so much for your insight. Thank you for the partnership. We really appreciate it, and looking forward to the next step of the journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, well, speaking of highly relevant customer experiences, I'm in a moving house journey currently. And I'm getting the sense that KPN knows what they're doing and therefore know what my needs are. A tailor-made offer, a transition without any fuss, smooth installation, all in the moment when I need it. And man, I can't live one day without reliable internet, so I'm happy that they're aware that I'm working from home and they take that seriously. I think I can trust that KPN will arrange this properly, but KPN, how will you take steps in the future and know how to grow with me as life happens and my needs change?
Should I answer to that? Okay. Thank you for the question. So how do we prepare the future, and how we make sure that we answer to customers in the future needs? First of all, as you probably know, we are deploying fiber across the country. That means that we are enabling every household in the country to be kind of future-proof for the next 20, 50 years in terms of technology, bandwidth, and a responsive answer on every single house. So that's the first way that we enable that future, and we are sure that whatever the needs will be in the future, we will be able to answer to that. And also, our industry has been evolving, and as you know, we started with mostly connectivity, and connectivity remains the core of our business. But we evolved as a company, like many other telcos, we evolved into other products and other categories, like, for example, television. When television became IP, we started to sell television, and then OTT, and then gaming. And so the future will be smart homes and cybersecurity and other products that we are going to put together on the core of the connectivity. But I'm too long here, so I'm going to leave it there.
No,
I see the
it's
counter
great to
telling me,
hear.
stop it here.
It's great to hear. Thank you, Jean-Pascal, to hear how you keep up with all the changes that people may encounter. And thank you for sharing your insights with us, Jean-Pascal and Luc.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure you are thinking, all very well, data enabling hyper-segmentation and one-on-one marketing, but how do I deal with that content-wise? Really good question. Because this ultimately means a non-stop demand for content. As soon as one piece of content is consumed by the customer, your brand needs to serve up the next piece of content instantly. And covering all kinds of platforms and all kinds of brands, whether it's B2B, B2C, no matter your customer, product, your resources, or maturity level, you all need to be ready for the content explosion. But luckily, our next speaker knows just how to deal with that. She's the Vice President of Global Brand and Marketing at Signify, ex-Philip Lightning, and she's here to talk about immersive, shoppable, and rich content, and why this requires a strong foundation. Use the QR code to ask your question during her talk. Please welcome Alexandra Gaillard.
Hello, everyone. In the world of today, we need to have a lot of content, of course, and you heard all this personalized and seamless consumer experience require a lot of content. So before we dig into the topic, I would like to talk more about Signify, just to give you a bit of perspective of who is Signify. We produce high-quality and energy-efficient lighting products, systems, and services. We are the #1 leader in conventional LED and connected lighting. We have 75% of our business that is done in B2B, but also what is very important is that sustainability is at the core of our businesses. And we are one of the very proud companies that became carbon neutral in operation already in September 2020, so being the first one in our industry. Behind Signify, you will recognize some world-famous brands like Philips, Philips Hue. But this is also why we aim to continue developing and leading this transformation. So we are also recognized by the Dow Jones Sustainability Index as the world leaders in this highest score with the industry. As a pioneer of sustainability and in energy efficiency, Signify has introduced already in Europe the first ever Philips ultra-efficient light bulb, which consumes 60% less energy than any standard Philips LED bulb. This is a very relevant innovation, so it's just to give you a proof point that this company is ahead of the game. But now, let's look at today's topic, which is sharing with you how Signify has been going through this transformation. Content is not new, content marketing is not new, and actually back in 2014, that was already very high in the agenda of any marketer. But since I've changed, and today I'm sure that all of you have already traded off your email address or any other personal information to get access to a webinar, white paper, and others. This is highly important, as we were mentioning before, because that's part of the first-party data acquisition strategy that any company should adopt today, and content play a critical role in that domain. Content helps building brand equity. As a matter of fact, today, 82% of consumers have more a positive view on the brand if they start interacting with your brand's content. But content is also an art. Today, it's representing between 20 to 40% of any marketing budget, but 23% of CMOs believe as well that they don't know how to produce the right content with the right audience in mind, but as well with the right format. So that's a challenge. Today, internet, any connection and interaction with consumer is a chance. We need to grab their attention, and content play an important role in that domain. So we know as well that interactive content generates twice more conversion than any other passive content. So this is highly important that interactive content is injected into any personalized experience. And finally, I was mentioning about this digital fatigue, but you have to see your content and interaction with consumer as one chance, but you won't have a lot of chance. And a personalized experience is a challenge for any company. Doing it right, you will gain. Doing it wrong, that's a bye-bye. And that's a challenge that we're all facing. We have the technology, we have the content, but we need to orchestrate that in a seamless experience for the consumers. The goal of content is to educate, entertain, inform, but as well support the decision. Content marketing needs to respond to ever-changing algorithms. Marketing content should survive the scroll-down habit and stand up. But at the end, content is one piece of the consumer journey. So this consumer journey is a multi-touch point, multi-moment, and that's very important that this content help the consumer to take decision and to trigger action. All along the consumer journey, content plays a key engagement role. Content helps consumers to move ahead and to take decision, as we mentioned. The shoppable content part is actually any type of content that you know already today, but that provides a direct purchase opportunity. And today, grabbing attention of consumer is essential. So you need to have content that are powerful enough to shorten as much as possible the consumer journey. So it means that you need to make your consumer one click to max away from buying, from the aha moments where they discover the product they desire to the moment they could purchase it. Easy to say, not easy to do, but you have to test and learn to make the content a shoppable experience. Now that we have seen the role of content, this is important to see how to industrialize the content production and the management. The technology could help, but not only. Many organizations face the same challenge, how to produce content with the high quality, with speed, and in a cost-effective manner. Many companies have decided as Signify to develop what we call internally a content house. It's called media house, content factory in many other organizations. This is actually a connected ecosystem where we have internal and external resources and talent working at sync with partners, tools to industrialize the content creation and the production. So what has been the journey at Signify? We started with a minimum viable product. We wanted to focus on the key essential talent that we needed, internalize the content production, content expertise with the content strategy, but as well we adopted certain technology that will support us into the workflow, but as well in the speed and the repurposing of this content that we needed. We tested this first approach across a number of projects, and the second phase for us was to stress test this model with even more projects. So we also realized that we needed to add more talent to the team. Copywriting is one example. Going forward, in the acceleration that we have now ahead of us, beyond continuously follow and manage the performance of the content, we need to bring more agility by even internalizing the creative aspect. So that's the journey of Signify. Many companies, as I said, went through this. You have to design your own journey, but producing content and repurposing content would be essential effectively to be able to create this personalized consumer journey. So how the content will continue to revolutionize the shopping experience. Today, the type of content that we know would drastically change over the coming months and year. And here are some examples. Content is making the shopping experience more immersive. And you have different opportunities I would like to share with you today. First, you could make your user-generated content a shoppable experience. This is a truly authentic type of content that are highly appreciated by any consumers. What you see as well, the mini video that were developed by Diesel, we're featuring product detail into the video. So while watching this movie, you also injected your product in a very discreet manner. An important challenge that e-commerce are facing today is the high return rates. And actually, in average, this is 30% compared to less than 9% in a physical store. So by having 3D visualization, that could definitely help to reassure the consumers in their purchasing decision. It's increased, of course, the engagement rates, the conversion, but as well the revenue. That's another type of content to consider. And finally, you would see as well that the physical is back. Clearly, consumers enjoy going back to any shop. So how we could bring as well digital content over there to enhance their experience. So what you see is the mirror, so I don't have to chance to try the clothes on me. I'm maybe one click away as well from sharing that with my friends on social media. What we see as well is the usage of augmented reality at the shop. So in that experience, I could be drive in a very easy and fast manner to the product that I buy potentially online, but I could also receive a lot of information while I'm navigating physically into the shop. So this is the new type of content that we need to also embrace, because consumer would experience that with your brand or with another brand. To conclude, I would like to ask you a few questions to have in mind tomorrow when you go back to the office. And the first one would be to check how your content is currently consumed by your consumers. It seems a bit of a trivial question, but this is not always measured. Do you have the content that is making the right job towards a certain segment that you have identified? And you could measure that with the engagement created by this content. How this content is also produced in a cost-effective manner, how much of this content is currently repurposed, but as well how your content and your content strategy is having an impact on your business and the growth that the content marketing is supposed to develop. And finally, how it's contributing to the mid and the long-term objective, which is building your brand. In this economical downturn, we know that having a brand equity is essential. That's helping consumers to make a decision, and they want to see interactions with your brand. So that's the 4 questions I would encourage you to go back and discuss with your team tomorrow when you're back to the office. Thank you. And Fiona, happy to take any question.
Yes. Give it up for Alexandra Gaillard. Well, that looks great, the content. Yeah, you can already read it. A question that has come in for you is how you deal with personalization in B2C versus B2B. Is it similar or different?
It's similar and different.
Oh, great.
You have human behind the screen, whatever we want to say. But they have maybe a different way to analyze. Obviously, we know that in B2C, this is highly important to be emotional. A bit less in B2B, but still, human is behind the screen, but would take different criteria to take any decision. So clearly, the personalized aspect of this is highly important. You don't want, as a human, to be treated as your colleague, and especially when you are in a B2B context. You're looking for information to make a decision for your company. You're looking for the product and the services. So the seamless experience, this personalized experience, would gain time decision for you. So this is very critical to deal with this personalized approach. It's slightly different, though.
Right. That is brilliant. If this inspired you to do more with your content, make sure to meet you, right, afterwards in the foyer
It's a
at the
pleasure.
Experience Zone. And to learn how Signify is making all of this happen, we invite you to the Tech Talk here later on, because your colleague, Manuel Diaz, Global Product Owner Personalization at Signify, and Wouter van Geluwe, Chief Technologist from the Western region, will touch upon it with a short but triggering talk. So don't miss it. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you.
Yeah, to know and understand your customer is one, but to be preparing for the wow moment is two, because when is the right moment and which wow moment is relevant? All of this is reflected in the pillar journeys. And now it's our time to make it personal. We have 2 speakers lined up for you, and you can choose the talk that is most relevant to you. Will it be Akzo Nobel and their aim to become the industry frontrunner, or ING and how they personalize experiences at scale? Let's invite the speakers. Here are Bob Timmerman, Head of Digital Sales at ING Nederland, and Joris Volleberg, Global Director, Digital Center at Excellence at Akzo Nobel. Hi. Yeah, you all know your spot. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Bob, can you shortly, very briefly, introduce your talk?
Really great to be here. And I'm going to talk about how we do digital intimacy at ING and how we personalize 26 million contacts we have per week, at least how we try to.
Wow, impressive numbers. And Joris, what is your talk about?
My talk is about a B2B seamless customer journey.
Okay, seamless. So think about what you want to see, and this is the moment to get out your headphones. If you want to listen to Bob, switch to channel red. If you want to listen to Joris, switch to channel blue. I see a nice mix coming up.
Can everybody hear me who's on the blue?
Well, hi there in
Wave
the
your
red
hands
team.
like this.
This is Bob. Please raise hands if you can hear me. Really excited to be here in front of you. As said, my name is Bob. I'm working for 15 years now within ING and currently responsible for digital sales in the Netherlands. I'm going to give you some insights how we create personalized experience in the 26 million contacts we have per week. And to understand my audience a little bit in this room, can you raise hands? How many of you are a customer at ING? In the red, I see 50-50. So, okay, there's a small sales opportunity for me here in the room as well. So, thank you. I will take you along the journey. First, let me introduce to you Rachel. And Rachel is one of our customers. And she's 44 years old. We call her a primary customer. And she has a husband, 2 kids, and she has all our products at ING. Basically, a customer we love. Recently, she upgraded her mortgage, and in that journey, she wanted to buy a vacation home in a foreign country, Spain in this case. So basically, we know all of her, and we have all the products. But now we take a look into the channels, what's happening there. So first, I asked her to open her email box. She looked in there, and she got an ING newsletter, which was not personalized at all for the journey she was in, and not what she was working on. And then we go further on. In the app, she has an inbox. And in that inbox, it's scattered with functional messages and nothing to tell her about the journey she's in. We can go even further. She went to ing.nl. And what does she see there? A non-personalized homepage. Although we know everything about her, this ing.nl is just telling her random stuff and all the stuff she could do at ING. And even in our app, we were not able to target in what she was doing. We send her an offer, afford your redecoration of your house. And lastly, in Facebook, we target her, hey, maybe it's time for you to look at investing and what you can do next to savings. So basically, we have like 5 million customers in our database, but we have no exact clue at what they're working on. And that's the thing we need to crack. So to understand it a little bit further, a few data facts on ING, our customer base. Like I said, we have 5 million customers active in the app. The total retail base is 7 million customers. And I think ING is in a real luxury position to be there. If we look at it in a more thorough look, 90% of them is having digital access. 12% has access via someone else. And of course, we have a group in the population that has no access. And for that group, we will always have something different in place in the non-digital world via call or the branches or service points we will have. But the focus here is on the digital part. We can go a little bit deeper, and here you can see that 80% of our primary customers is also active in our mobile banking app. And this has grown over the past years, and I think we're now reaching the maturity level that on the customer base that we have them all in the app, and they're quite frequent users as well. And then it becomes to be important that you give them the right experience. And one more deeper, in Q1 2020, we had 345 million logins in that quarter. And then the big jump, and you can ask who created that big jump in the number of logins. That was not me, that was not ING, that was COVID. COVID here helped us really in getting the customer doing their banking in the app. And now from that state, we have them in there, they're familiar in how to use the app, and we see steady growth last quarter to quarter, 7% of more active logins. So that is an understanding in the customer base. So where do we stand in our personalization journey? And because I just showed you, we haven't connected our channels, we don't know what the customer is exactly doing, so we need to solve that. This year, we have set a clear KPI throughout the whole organization. And in the Netherlands, it's quite big. We have 12,000 employees still working there. But in all our tribes, we have said we have a big, hairy, audacious goal. That's what we call it. And 70% of our interactions in the mobile banking app, we want them to be personalized. And next year, we try to even go for 80. Also, I just learned that we have to watch out for fatigueness on sending messages in that app. And we need to do that by staying relevant. And so the KPI is now set, and that's there where we will be working on. Next to that, we have built our own capabilities to reach out to the customer in that app environment. So we have in place push notification, even real time, and we can send them, but currently we only allow the customer to set a notice in their app themselves that we can warn them. So we haven't connected this channel yet to full personalized interactions. Next to that, we have some, we call it digital commerce real estate. We have that in place. If you log into the app, we have the ability to give you a pop-up. Very annoying, but sometimes very handy. We have a KYC obligation, and sometimes we need to know, is your phone number correct and your emails are correct. Very effective means, but we cannot use it for personalization at scale. But it's nice to have it at some point in your journey if you need to create something. Next to that, and maybe you have seen them when you're an ING customer, we have 3 types of messages in the app, how we currently communicate. We call it an actionable insight. It's on top of the app, and there we can overtake the screen also a little bit and give you a relevant message when needed. Here we're quite strict. We don't use that message for sales, because people don't like sales. Now, this is really for service and the next best thing you could do at ING, if you lost your debit card or something else like that. On the next level, it's on the product level, we have a so-called in-journey layer where we can send messages as well, more specific to that product and what could you do with it. And lastly, it's really an enticement. It's in the bottom of the app. You need to scroll down if you have many products, and that's really more on the advertising. You see a picture there and some stuff. But this is fully managed by ourselves and a home-built stack. So where are we now? We are able to personalize 50% of our interactions in the app today. But 80% is bank-driven. So we make the selection based on what we think that the customer needs. And I just showed you we're most of the time wrong. 20% is only client-driven. So that's where we really use the behavior of our customer to understand them. And that's the thing we are working now on to improve. And we already heard that you need a lot of content. Currently, we have 500 propositions live. But imagine a bank with all products and processes. I think we have over 6,000 processes, and we don't have content on that yet in the app. And these 500 now are managed by 30 customer journey experts and 8 data analysts. So we try to do that, but these 500, we see now we reach the level. So how can we scale further? Because creating more content, more selections, it's just not manageable for us. So we're really looking at how can we scale even further. But are we then doing that bad? No, we have some things that we're proud of as well. There's a but to that. We have real time, so we can do something instantly, but the next best thing we can do is 45 hours in batch. We have nothing in between. And that's rather strange, right? But a thing we're proud of, we call it call avoidance by routing. If you would call our call center today and you say, I lost my debit card, you will say that to the machine. We can doubt if it's personal or not, but it's really helpful on our side. If you do that, the machine automatically says, you lost your debit card, your next action is ready in your banking app. So when you log in into the app, we automatically push the message on the top of the screen. You can click on it, block your debit card, and get a new one. And I think that's one of the journeys where we are going in the direction where we say, yeah, that's real-time personalization in what the customer needs at that moment. So we're getting there a little bit, but we're not there yet. So for the future, how we are working on it, we introduce a framework which consists of 3 pillars. The first is targeting. And targeting is about getting the right audience. And in order to select our audience, we need data. So this is really about having the right data in place to build your selections and queries to say, this needs to go to that customer. The next one is orchestration. And this is about prioritizing and selecting the most relevant message. And I think you all know with propensity to buy models, what channel position do I need to choose, that we try to solve in the orchestration part. And last, we already heard it in the story before, it's about content creation. How can we create that much content, because I think the 500 on our side needs to go times 10, and do that in a manageable way, and also keep it attractive. And here things are still going very manual. So, what tools do we use in our marketing tech stack? And I simplify this a little bit, but to give you an idea, we build audiences in our in SAS 360. We do that on a manual way. So we have data analysts who write the code. And in my department, we have 8, and for all products, they can put it in there. We have a connection to the so-called Kafka team, and there we can make some real-time events. I come back to the RTCDP block later. But imagine here, on a daily basis, we have 125 million messages available for those customers to log in. And that's running on a daily basis. So we need quite a machine to do that. In real time, we can do 750,000 messages a day with that system. On the orchestration layer, we use a so-called SAS inbound engine. There we put the orchestration and business rule layer part. And next to that, we have a home-built insights API. And why home-built? We are a bank, and we want our customers to feel safe. And some things we just are not willing to give in a cloud platform to others, so we keep that within ourselves. And this insights API is really our part, which is fully connected in the app and where we safeguard everything. And that's a challenge within a bank that might be different for another company, but we decide that we needed to do this based on security reasons. And also, a little bit within ING, we think we can do everything better than the others. Lastly, for our content creation, we have a Bloomreach content management system in place. That's on a global level, so all countries of ING will work with Bloomreach, so we share global components. Now let me get back to RTCDP, because we recently added that. And why we added that, it's not fully integrated yet, but our insight was, we can do everything ourselves, but there are parties working on it with way more investments than we are doing. So we decided on this part, we're going to consume a platform that gives us the real-time customer data platform, and not going to build it ourselves and focus on a bank where are we really good at. So on targeting, data availability is of the essence. We need to improve that. From surname of our customers, we're not using them in the app. Next to that, what is the customer really doing? And stitch the data together. It's also about getting consent. In orchestration, it's about the propositions and the variety of them. Currently, we have way too much on sales. We need to move to service and build that very rapidly. So we need to improve the flexibility and scale in our content, because today it takes us a really long time to build a proposition. So, in a nutshell, how will the future look like? We want to move to an app that is relational and it says good morning to you. And we are going to do that by connecting more data sources of what we are knowing and allowed to use. And we will ask consent to our users and show them to them, if you give us consent, we will treat it and safeguard it for you, but give you a better experience in return. This is challenging for a bank. Why would you give your transaction data and allow ING to use it? But that's what we're trying to do and show to the customer that we can do that. And there we need to find the balance between relevance and scale. Some messages will be broader, that you can all see, and some will really be only for you when it matters. Next to that, the second part, under orchestration. It will be driven by our commercial strategy. Of course, ING wants to grow and help the customers in cross-selling their products. But next to that, it should be relevant for the customer as well. So not only being on sales, but on service, say we have a dark mode, and create variety in that content. So here we need to find the balance between algorithms and business rules. And last, flexible and interactive banners. Currently in the app, we do everything native, as you can experience, gives a great user experience, but it's also a high IT investment. Here we really want to go to skilled creation and create engagement in that.
Imagine that you're working on a wind farm on the ocean, and whereby you are able to work with smart paint. That smart paint is able to identify the density on the windmill and to call out when there is a problem. Imagine that you then also are able to send out a drone to that specific location, and it starts scanning the windmill and finds a spot where the problem or the density problem, the quality issue, is happening. And at that point in time, the drone is able to instantly code that particular location to make sure that that spot is brought back to the quality what it is. Welcome at Digital at AkzoNobel. This is what we are doing and what is becoming reality in how we are servicing our customers and what we're trying to do in there. But first, I'm going to tell you on who AkzoNobel is. AkzoNobel is a global paint and coatings company. We serve many customers with a whole variety of different of our products, and several of you guys know those products already. Think of Sikkens, think of Flexa in the Netherlands, think of Deluxe, but also more international coating products as Interpon or as international in that sense. We operate on a geographical level of which 50% of our revenue is coming from emerging markets. So we are well balanced across the globe. And with that, we're targeting our customers, but we're targeting our customers through the way of a wide set of our segments. So we're targeting segment specific. And several of you probably will see or heard of is we're targeting marine, but also automotive, aerospace, powder coatings, and also in the more decorative paints. When you walk into a shop, as in a Gamma, you will see your products. The way we're serving these products and how we are engaging with our B2B customers is we operate through our go-to-market models. And we have specific go-to-market models for our segments. And with that is we have 6. And through that, we're targeting specifically our customer journey in order to make and to deliver the customer needs that our customers have. And how we're delivering that from an internal point of view is that we do that through process towers. We have about 13 process towers across our organization that are really engaged and gated to support our business units. And as you probably have seen in a little bit before, we have 8 business units, 4 focusing on paints, which is our decorative section, and 4 focused on coatings, which is a lot where is our B2B happening as well. But what is the role within digital in here? What we see is that our customers are gearing up to move into the digital vortex. They're starting, and what I mean with the vortex is they're getting pulled into it because they're starting to operate more efficient through using digital capabilities. They're starting to unlock opportunities that digital gives to them as well. And we see that through trends and through COVID as well, for example. We see customers moving buying online paint. We're starting to see customers to want to know where their paint is, that the moment that it leaves our factories, the moment that it's basically arriving on its doorstep. But we also start seeing that our customers are actually demanding that personal connection and that personal attention to them. So they want to increase the ease of doing business with them on their terms. We're also starting to see that manufacturing are starting to explore new business models, and that we need to engage to that. And we're actually starting to see as well new paint organizations that are truly online, so they're born online, that are starting to disrupt the markets as well. And they're starting to come still small in terms of percentage, but they're growing very rapidly because customers are actually starting to engage on that platform as well. So one thing for sure what we see is that in our paints and coatings industry, digital is at the tipping point, and digital transformation is actually here to stay. What are we doing on that from a AkzoNobel point of view, and how are we bringing that B2B experience in there? Well, our aim is to deliver a memorable customer experience at scale so that customers can focus on what matters most to them. And I often translate that they want to do business with us because they want to, not because they have to. And the way we are approaching that is we're addressing that through our challenge. So I'll explain a little bit about challenge, the way of our mission on how we're trying to address that, and a fundamental belief that sits beneath that. Now in our challenge, we're looking at two sets of challenge in there. We have an external challenge where Akzo increasingly need to be resilient to a VUCA world. And what I mean with a VUCA world is it's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. In terms of more internal view is we are in a very traditional organization where we need to nurture our digital maturity and to enable a true business transformation. That's the challenge that we face. How are we trying to address this? Through our mission in there, and that is basically orchestrating a seamless and personalized interactions towards our customers by collaborating across our digital value chain. And I will focus a little bit later on a digital value chain. But we do that with our fundamental belief, and that belief is that a digital transformation is not just about more and more sexy technology. It involves around culture, people, process, structure, and organization to really try to address as well. And how are we trying to address this? Is via our digital diamond layer, the diamond layer that starts with our customer experience to really focus on what the customer needs are within their journey. Translating that to the strategy on what we need to do in order to address that. Based on that, we are then are developing our digital portfolio that is then not only, and the digital portfolio is focusing on the layers that sits below it. So we're not only focusing on the technology, we also need to make sure that we embed it within the organization and that we actually have the organization, the right skills and skill set and mindset in the organization set up as well. We have that also looked at from our measurement point of view. So how do we measure basically that we are on the right track? How do we have our business processes set up and the data set for that? And then, of course, that is all underlined and built up from a foundation from a technology point of view. But also, our digital customer experience is focused on our customer journey. And that customer journey, also within AkzoNobel, over the recent years has starting to speed up. And what you see in here is that, especially also with COVID hitting, and even before that, there were digital initiatives coming in there. And what you heard in the earlier story of one of the Adobe people was mentioning that digital transformation has started. And what you see in here as well, and what is also where AkzoNobel is facing with, is that a lot of things are happening already at multiple plates. But what you see in here as well is that also from a B2B point of view, that customer journey with so many touch points in place and so many areas is starting to get disjointed. So we're now at the position also to start bringing back in on how do we really connect that customer journey. Because what we see through customer satisfaction surveys is we are really well in inspiring. We can inspire the customer. But if we don't take in a consistent manner throughout that customer journey, customers will disconnect and will break out of the journey. And what you see in here is the more we go down into a funnel, the lower they score on this. So this is what we're also trying to address through the touch points that we have. So what you see in the touch points that we have in here is we're starting to address them now, and we're starting to optimize from our legacy point of view. But what I'm trying to show you here as well is that what we're trying to address is not only from a technology, also addressing our process organization in there. And the process organization that you see in here is, if you remember the 13 process towers that I showed you in the beginning, is actually showing here as well that in every touch point we have, there is a minimum of 4 process organization that we need to actually align, link up, connect, and bring them together. Because if one of the data points that we heard in the beginning in there is disconnected, that automatically comes into a knock-on effect to our customer. You really show that onto the customer touch points. And that actually disconnects and breaks the journey in there. So coming back to my story, I'm now on the same page, is that the customer journey and the internal organization needs to start connecting together. So we're bringing the outside in view back into the inside out. So we're trying to connect that across the organization from a people, process, technology, and information point of view. But we have also learning coming back in. And the learnings that we actually got already on this is the fact that, one, if to do this, in order to transform at scale, we start with pilots. So we started small with reaching out to our to really test the waters and really piloting this accordingly. We're also looking this integral across the whole journey. So as I mentioned, our thinking method is it's not only on the technology, it's on the people, process, and organization, and really work through integral what that specifically means. The other learnings that we see is digital transformation takes time, specifically when you are in there with a very diverse landscape, a lot of legacies. So we're also looking at in there. But there's also a lot of good news around that. We see things already moving. Our reach to our digital community is growing rapidly. We're starting to be able to connect unknown customers to known customers. And what I mean with that, unknown prospect to known prospect to lead, and really track them through. And that's also to the use of Adobe, what we have put in here. That's my story.
Hey, give it up for Bob and Joris. Wow, guys, that is time management next level. Thank you for that, and thank you for the willingness to share the stage. Bob, how do you balance between algorithms and business rules and keep it still human to your customers? Ooh, yeah, you don't want to be a robot. Or maybe you do.
To be honest, currently we're not that good at propensity models yet. So I think a lot is done on business rules. But that's not maintainable. But we have this built as a pillar in the system. So we have a few people, among which I am and a tribe lead, and we can decide when we use business rules to push it to the audience and when will we use algorithms. So we will never go and choose for one, but it will be always a set of mix.
Okay.
We try to strive for algorithms, but we can always interfere with business rules when needed.
Right. Joris, a question to you. Somebody says, I totally agree that adoption is key. Can you share how Axo made the adoption of new lead management software a success?
Yeah, we actually have a specific team focusing on digital change and adoption. So they are helping to adopt markets with best practices that we're sharing from different regions or countries together. We are also running specific webinars and specific key programs to help them really enable that change, and we also put metrics against that. So we actually can see how many campaigns they're being set out, what is the audience that has been reached, what is the click-through rate on that accordingly, so that we are able to take those learnings and continuously learn and bring that back to the markets.
Nice. Okay, that's brilliant. Give it up one more time for Bob Timmermans and Joris Volleberg. Thank you so much. Up next, a brand that we all know very, very well. They are listed in the top 15 of Interbrand, and they're also known for their experiences, their advancing on data and content, and their lifelong relationships with their customers. And that's thanks to their culture of innovation and their digital advantage. I'm talking about McDonald's. Yeah. To talk about how they connect with their customers, in a moment, you will meet Erwin Dito, VP Global Brand Leadership. Erwin is a Dutchman, but working from the US headquarters and owns the brand identity. And he will have a conversation with Alex Azopardi, Managing Director at Adobe Benelux.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, Erwin.
Thank you.
Welcome. So I think
Great to be here.
We're lucky to have you. You're always traveling across the globe from the US to Europe to Asia. So I think we cocked you, and we're happy to have you today. So thank you for being with us.
Yeah, great to be here. Really great event, great talk. So really good.
So we do not present McDonald's anymore. It's such an iconic brand. You used to be the managing director for McDonald's in the Netherlands. Then a year and a half ago, you jumped in a new global role, and you are today running the global brand leadership. So tell us about your role and what it is exactly.
Yeah, the role is basically being responsible for the brand worldwide, and basically my team is built on our strategy how to do that. So there are basically two legs. So one leg is about helping the markets to do the best marketing possible in their local context, because we all know it's think global, act local, right? And the other leg is about what we call the power of one. And the power of one is doing all the things that you best can do at a global level or only can do together, which means global campaigns, global alliances, like now the FIFA World Cup is starting, typically something that sits in my team, global sponsoring, and there are lots of actually connection platforms that go global, so this role is actually within my team is increasing.
All right. So all this action makes McDonald's one of the most successful and valuable brands in the world. And if you look at the last year, competing with global tech, which are raising in the rankings. So what is the magic that kept you there for many years?
Yeah, that's interesting. Coincidentally, half a year ago, we had our worldwide convention. All the McDonald's people gathered together around the globe, and actually we set that dynamic ranking somewhere. We projected it on the wall, and you see McDonald's being there, let's say over time consistently, and then you start to think about it, right? What does the brand have that keeps you up there for a very long time? And I think it's very much about, of course, you need to have a great concept, that fits with customer needs, but also you need to, as a company and as a brand owner, realize what your DNA is and really understand your brand well and stick to it. Of course, there is a lot of innovation. McDonald's from today is completely different than a McDonald's 40, 30, 20 years ago. But still the DNA and the concept we deliver, the customer experience we give is more or less the same, but just delivered in a different way. And I think that's for any brand really important to understand and to stick to.
Okay. So when we discussed earlier that topic, you told me that McDonald's is a global brand, we have a global presence, but we need to stay locally and culturally relevant.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for you?
Yeah, so I think locally relevant is crucial. A McDonald's in France is different than a McDonald's in Asia or a McDonald's in the US. You would definitely see everywhere the Big Mac and a McFlurry, and about, I would say, 40 to 50% of the menu is the same, but the other half is definitely localized. So locally relevant, especially because it's in a food context, is really important. And what we see nowadays even more is, especially the newer generations are so connected around the world, so they form communities around the world that are not based anymore on proximity, so sitting close to each other, but because of their shared passions. And yeah, so for all marketers, one message: the consumer doesn't think of your brand all day. Actually, you might, if you are lucky, they might think of you maybe once a week. And so to be relevant and to get into their mindset, you need to connect to what they care about, right? I mean, we have to earn attention. We cannot buy attention anymore. So to be culturally relevant and to understand what is actually out there, what is happening, and what is now happening, let's say, as an important part in your customer's mind is really important. So you need to be really connected to what's there outside in the world. And that's what I mean culturally relevant. Just understand what people care about and find your role as a brand within that.
All right. So that's really also the way you are seeing personalization in
exactly.
In
And basically, this is personalization more at a community level, right? At a we level. And there's also, of course, let's say, more at an individual level personalization, but we come to that later, right?
Yeah, indeed. We're going to talk about technology. I love that topic. So you're looking at the past decades, technology has really broadened the access to restaurants.
Yeah.
It has never been as easy as today. Just in my phone, I have access to 100 restaurants. But it's increasing competition, but also giving you the opportunity to better know your customer and to be closer to them. So in that context, did this context change your growth strategy? How do you see that?
Yeah, so what you see on screen here is what we call our growth loop. It's basically a customer experience loop. We also call it our feel-good experience loop because we basically sell feel-good experiences. But it's very much, it starts with knowing your customers. And we are so lucky that we not only sell products, but also have our customer in the experience of the McDonald's, right? So we basically own the chain from buying the ingredients, making the product, to actually giving the customer the experience in restaurant. And that delivers, of course, a huge opportunity to connect with your customer, to know them every time they come to you. And every time that they go through the circle, and basically this infinite circle, you are able to build more knowledge about your customer and be more personally relevant to them. So from culturally relevant, which let's say happens outside, more in paid media and doing the right marketing promotions, to going more to the owned media and be more personally relevant and giving them the right offers. It might be a menu offer, like, if we know that somebody is a vegetarian, you give them, of course, another offer than a beef lover. If you know that somebody's coming often with children, you might give them an offer for a Happy Meal. And there are so many ways to actually adapt our offer without changing our product, but adapt our offer to the customer. And especially when you look at, so when you're now here in the Netherlands as well, if you go into a drive lane, you see digital menu boards. So 3 to 4 years ago, we made a complete shift from let's say the offline boards to the online boards. And of course, you can imagine how many opportunities that gives to actually personalize your offer. And we know, and that's where we had it, and we know that already from testing in the US, that if we have an identified customer, so if we know our customer by name, and we know how to actually to speak to the customer by name, that's the main driver of, let's say, hospitality and of feel-good. And so personalization doesn't have to be so complicated. It's just pushing the right buttons.
All right. So you know more about your customer through technology. Obviously, the world has changed. We had that discussion. So before, people were going to the restaurant, and that's it.
Yeah.
Today, which role technology plays to stay relevant to younger generation? So if we extrapolate, will customer one day will be ordering McDonald's in the metaverse, for example?
Well, yeah, no, I think our principle is we go where the customer is. So that is in the physical world, and in this way, when there is anywhere a population that is big enough, we would try to get there with a restaurant. So if communities would go online, we tried to be online. If communities would go in the metaverse, we would go in the metaverse. And if you look at how technology changed our customer experience, well, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, you had this counter, and some of you might remember, which actually said, order here. Yeah? So you went to the counter, and they said, hey, you need to order here, because we serve our food here. And well, we might have had a drive lane, but that was it, right? And nowadays, customers can order delivery, can order ahead, can pick up at curbside, can go through the drive lane, can go to the kiosk in restaurant, can still go to the counter, pay cash, pay credit card. So the amount of, let's say, different channels we use has multiplied. So complexity has multiplied a lot, which means that we need to keep other things simple. And so the personalization sits much more in the experience, the customer experience, how people get our food, than that they get a Big Mac, a triple Big Mac, or a single Big Mac, because we try to keep our food simple, because the complexity has already been, let's say, risen so much that, if you want to stick to your DNA, you need to be quick, you need to have the order right, and, well, the danger is, when you make it too complicated, that will be a big challenge. So back to your question, will people be able to order in a metaverse? I can't exclude that.
Okay. So being where your customers are, I think that's
being where the customers are and stick to your DNA.
Yeah, that's the good summary.
And find the right buttons to personalize.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. So thank you very much. Thank you for the partnership, Erwin, and thank you for sharing your success.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So thank you to all the speakers and the great brands that came today to share their success and their story. So I would like to conclude Experience Makers looking into some of the latest immersive experience trends and show you a sneak peek into the future of customer experience. So I'm calling Bart van der Wiele on stage.
Oh, my poor soul starts flying like a cannonball. What goes up must come down. Take my advice and run while you still stand. The race has got my love jump started. The only one I want is you.
1, 2, 3. Woo-cha, woo-cha.
Hi guys, how's it going? So today we've seen how various brands across multiple industries engage with customers, how they build their customer experiences. But I'm here to talk about the future of customer experiences and how AI can play a role in that as well. So I'm sure you've heard stories about augmented reality and virtual reality, or even the metaverse, just like now with we had with Erwin and Alex. And we saw some great examples from Signify as well, looking at that mirror that kind of shows you what this outfit is going to look like on you, or that virtual shopping experience where you hold up your phone and it kind of guides you through that store. So that's like the first layer of what we have, what we can offer to customers today when it comes to more immersive experiences, in this case just using augmented reality. But what does a metaverse experience look like? So what does it mean for your brand? What does it mean for a company like Adobe? So we have a clear vision of what a metaverse experience might or should look like. Now, first of all, we believe the metaverse experience should be completely immersive. So this means either virtual reality goggles, other types of wearables that still need to be invented in the near future, but it should be immersive and should offer rich interactive content. And maybe even have the ability to offer specific content to new audiences that you were unable to reach before in the past. On top of that, it should be co-experience as well. you're not alone in the metaverse. This is an interconnected world where you have the ability to hang out with your friends or hang out with your coworkers, for example. Or you can go ahead and you can co-create and you can work and converse, maybe go shopping together. And if you do offer the ability of giving a shopping experience to your customers, then it should also be part of an interconnected economy that's live and persistent, where you have the ability to offer exclusive content to the audience that wants to look you up in the metaverse. So just now we had Erwin and we had Alex on stage talk about McDonald's and how they future-proof their experiences for the coming years. So what would an immersive experience for McDonald's look like? So I'm not quite sure yet what it might be, but I found a quick artist rendition that I kind of like here. So maybe just walking around this virtual environment with your digital avatar, and you come across one of these bad boys here, and like, well, you know what, I'm going to actually try this out, where you have an actual money transfer where you buy a virtual meal in exchange for a token, an item, or a QR code that you can then go ahead and exchange at a real McDonald's restaurant, where you can have access to an exclusive metaverse burger, for example. So this is something that will be possible in the future. Or maybe this is what Nescafé is going to look like. So you're going through this virtual world, you're going to make a stop at the Nescafé station here, fill up on some coffee to give you the stamina that you need to continue your virtual journey. And the thing is that there's a lot of originality, there's a lot of room for originality here if you want to express your brand in something like the metaverse. And so this is something that really, really excites me being a content creator myself. But there's one thing that all these experiences have in common. In augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse, whatever it is, whichever direction you want to take this into, and that is 3D. Everything starts with 3D, and I cannot emphasize enough how important 3D is today as well and for the near future. Now, even if you're not that interested in the metaverse today, that's absolutely fine, because there's a lot of value in 3D when you look at marketing as well. Let's take a look at Ben & Jerry's. So Ben & Jerry's have completely revolutionized how they take pictures of their ice cream. So imagine organizing a product shoot for ice cream that melts. Must be a nightmare. So now they have 3D models and hyper-realistic materials, which is all powered by Adobe Substance 3D or a 3D set of tools that allows them to basically create any marketing image that they want of any flavor of Ben & Jerry's in any language, any setup, any backdrop, anywhere. So this is a huge benefit to them. So imagine looking at your own world, for example, what if you can generate on demand any marketing image, any detail of any product on demand? I mean, the return will be just absolutely insane. And you can do this today already because you can actually use Substance 3D, Adobe's solution, for creating a 3D scene, applying hyper-realistic materials, which is what Substance does best, choosing the backdrop, materials, textures, and decals, and then hit that render button, and then we can bulk render this in the cloud for you. This exists today. And this will allow you to create this content and scale this content for you because there's so much demand for content these days, and we want details before we go ahead and make a purchase. But what are the results for this? What's the ROI for a system like this? Well, Wayfair has made it clear that going from traditional photography to 3D is up to 10 times cheaper over time, which is absolutely amazing. And if you take a look at Deloitte made it very clear that if you have the ability to present your product in augmented reality, consumers are 11 times more likely to buy your product. That's insane. That's insane. And you know what? Adobe's augmented reality solution, Adobe Aero, is already in your Creative Cloud, so you might already have it in your company. If you combine that with Substance 3D, sky's the limit what you can do. Now, looking at content in general, I know content is king and personalization, there's pressure, and we have to keep up, right? But a recent study, this is January, I believe, a recent study has also given us the fact that 81% of consumers want fresh content. So it doesn't make any sense to have a new campaign with old images. We have to refresh the content. And there's been a huge uptick in 2021 of retailers moving to virtual shopping experiences, 260% increase. If you combine that with content creation at scale using 3D, augmented reality, and the data we have from, for example, a company like Deloitte, seeing what the ROI is for such a system, then you know that this is something that you should be probably looking into if you're in retail. But how do you keep your content fresh? How do you keep it engaging? How do you stand out from the noise? So what can you do here? So there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, you have to try and embrace AI. So Adobe has launched hundreds of features that are AI or machine learning driven, thanks to an algorithm we call Adobe Sensei, and this is already available today. So if you are using solutions like Adobe Creative Cloud, there are hundreds of features in there that maybe most of your designers haven't really discovered yet, but it can do things that you were unable to do a year ago, 3 years ago. And we're looking ahead in the future as well, because Adobe has a very clear standpoint on what AI should look like. AI is not here to replace designers. It's there to be acting as an assistant, a creative assistant. So, for example, we're actually looking ahead as well, looking at Lightroom, our main photography application, where we're currently looking at ways for you to simply change the time of day in an image, making it very easy to use that campaign image that you're looking for, without having to go outside or wait for the weather, because you can change the weather, you can change the sky automatically, having sunlight, reflection, and colors already be applied to that specific image here. And same thing here, like another example where you can see how the shadows react based on the different setting of the sun. And then if you combine that with the existing features that we have within Lightroom, this can save you hours in your campaign image. And what if you found this image here, but it's not big enough? You can simply open it up, and the AI will add more image for you, making sure that it fits any crazy aspect ratio that you have for your campaign images. If you look at text-based AI, generative AI, again, we have a vision of having a creative assistant where you go ahead and make selections, type in what you want, and the AI is going to give it to you in your composition. This is something that we're very actively researching right now, which is going to open up ways to create that you've never had before, or simply create other variations of an existing design. You have a creative assistant, and that is the whole point. We simply don't want to limit you in certain creativity, and if you have repetitive tasks, we're going to make sure that we can automate these as best as we can. Looking here in this other example with the lighthouse, just looking for different variations, just to kind of get inspired. Even if it's not pixel perfect, because it's AI, it's fine. It will give you a different perspective, and it might even show you things that you haven't seen before, and go like, huh, you know what? That's kind of nice. I never thought about adding this or that element to this particular workflow. And this is something that really, really excites me. So if you're looking at the near future, it doesn't matter if you want to invest more or less in 3D, or embrace the metaverse, or collaborate more because we're all working from home these days, right? Or you're going to boost your marketing, or invest more in AI-driven features. Whatever happens, Adobe's going to be there with you every step of the way. And I've spent my entire 22-year career in the graphic design industry, and I'm still working with these products here today. And I've never been more excited because I wish I had these tools available back in the days I was still doing graphic design myself. So this really, really excites me. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bart van der Wielen, for making me feel quite old-fashioned. No, but really, it dazzles me. It's amazing. And also, thank you to Erwin and Alex for your contribution earlier. Yeah, wow. Hyper-personalized experiences, consistent product attributes, all supported by simple and unified technology with prioritized experiences. I think we can say that all the brands today have shown that the ultimate customer experience is made by you. It's the choices you make, the focus you bring, the tools you use, and the way you organize your data, content, commerce, and journeys. All to service the people you serve, the next generation customers. And those people, that generation is critical towards your brand and your experience. They want more now. And so I think there's only one person very well suited to close this program by showing her final thoughts with us. Laura, are you there?
Thanks for asking, Fiona. I think the main takeaway is trust. I have to be able to trust brands. Trust that I'm going to get an experience I didn't expect, be delighted or surprised, but also trust that you, as a brand, are going to be very careful with everything you know about me. It's like a relationship, super personal. So, whether you're just starting to build your foundation or you are already accelerating your business, make it unique for me, content-wise, and with offers and services. I mean, as a very demanding consumer, I want better, faster, smarter, and only individual relevant experiences, please. Use my data well. Be the best experience maker you can be. Be my experience maker. That's it.
Thank you, Laura, and that's a very clear call to all of us, something to discuss with your peers or your Adobe contacts here, today, or in the near future. Let's make it personal. Thanks again, and see you next year.